So another topic that is always discussed is like, what are the biggest pitfalls that organizations run into when it comes to their setup of Intact or their continued utilization of Intact? What I see is organizations that have been at Intact for many years and they've had leadership changes or changes within their finance department. They tend to not train those individuals as they come in as to what the process and the why behind how Intact was being utilized. It then starts to be used differently. Maybe the chart of accounts are tweaked, maybe the dimensions are tweaked, but the configuration isn't thought about. And what happens is that we start getting a really kind of deconfiguration and design of Intact. The original implementation might have been done great for what it was at that moment, but I've never met an organization that 5 years ago operates exactly the same today. And the problem that I see is that in that journey, people aren't, I don't even want to say upgrading. They're not taking into consideration the finance operations and general operations of the business and how those change and incorporate those things into how they're using something like Intact. And this can be true for any software. I don't want to focus on Intact. It could be your CRM, it could be your project management software, so on and so forth. If you're not adjusting it to how you're operating, then we're going to have gaps. And then what I start to see is organizations starting to rely less and less on Intact as its reporting function and everything else and start taking things outside of the system, reverting back to that Excel reliance, reverting back to manual approaches. And as soon as I see that, as soon as I see organizations that have Intact but rely heavily on Excel, I immediately know that there's an issue with how it's configured. And that's when we start going into our analysis, our Sage Intacct readiness approach, our Sage Intacct configuration review, all of those kind of things that we take a look and we marry the current process, understand how it's configured, and give a plan on how to better the internal operations. And usually a plan like that doesn't look like just one big thing that we're going to do. It's a set of numerous small projects that can address individual pain points and slowly but effectively start having that organization get more and more back out of Intact, get more and more data and more capabilities. So from us, it's all about identifying those pain points by identifying them without necessarily having the client tell you to do some really simple questions around how they're operating within Intact. On top of that, if you look at advanced modules and you look at how they're operating and you ask them to walk you through transaction flows and order to cash operations for AR or so forth, and you start to see gaps pretty quickly. Not ask them what their problems are, reviewing their process and informing them, guiding them on how it could be better. That's the key to a successful evaluation.